Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account, and it says, "Hi 26 male, and that my fiance 27 female possibly gave a stripper a handjob at a bachelorette party. Oof. I deleted my earlier post because I was so messed up about it at the time. I realized it wasn't healthy to have a conversation about it yet. I made that post right after the guy called me in an attempt to cope, but it didn't work. My thoughts were getting too dark and I needed to completely separate myself from the situation for safety. After holding myself up at my parents' place and surrounding myself with people I could trust, my head is back on straight and I'll fill in those who ask for an update. A quick recap for those who didn't see my original post. I will refer to my fiancée as Jane. One of the bridesmaids' husbands contacted me and told me he'd seen something that made him suspect Jane had been sexual with a stripper at a bachelorette party. Any sex or romantic kissing outside that relationship was a complete deal breaker that was established when the relationship had begun. When I asked him for details, he indicated a handjob in a roundabout way. When I asked if he could be mistaken or misinterpreting a text or overheard conversation, he kept insisting he was 100% sure. I personally know the bridesmaid. I think she was feeling guilty and she was using her husband as some sort of proxy informant to keep my girlfriend from coming after her when I confronted her. When I got off the phone with the guy, I was so destroyed about it, I just shut down. I just had my own sort of non-bachelor party at home playing WoW Classic with some friends. So to hear this news after such a wonderful day hit extra hard. My cousin, who has been friends with Jane since childhood, went to the party with her, so I decided to try and calm down and wait till the next day to ask her if she saw anything. At this point, I was still hoping this was some sort of misunderstanding or mean prank. Jane didn't live with me, and she was planning on staying the night at her parents' home, so I knew she wouldn't show up unannounced. I basically laid in bed all night staring at the dark ceiling, listening to the doors and Opeth, trying to not lose my mind. I waited until noon the next day to call my cousin. I wasn't able to get through the first 5 times I called. Red alarms were going off like crazy now. So when I suspected she was avoiding me, I went over to my parents' place and used my dad's office line. When she finally answered the phone and realized it was me, the somber tone in the voice of a normally annoyingly upbeat 23-year-old party girl pretty much told me everything I needed. I said, "I heard things got a little crazier than usual last night." She said, "Yeah." I said, "I think you already know why I'm calling you, don't you?" She said yes, obviously holding back tears at this point. Basically, long and weeping cousin story short, I found out Jane did indeed give a stripper a handjob, along with several other women, some of whom are in long-term relationships or married. That they decided to leave the house they were at and drive intoxicated to the strip club afterwards, where Jane and a few other women had private dances. My cousin tried to argue that this doesn't mean Jane doesn't love me, and it was just meaningless fun that got out of hand. This fucking infuriated me. I didn't shout at her, but I told her if that's what she wants. She had no idea what love actually is. At this point, I informed my parents and brothers what was going on, and of course my mother starts crying. Another person hurt by this stupid bullshit. I spent the rest of the day laying in bed at my parents' house, staring at the ceiling, ignoring Jane's calls and texts. I know some people have more open relationships and can get past this stuff, but I'm just not that guy. I'm monogamous all the way to the center. I eventually cancelled everything and lost a bunch of deposits. I know it's a bitch move, but I broke up with Jane over text. I decided it was best to just walk away clean with no serious confrontation. There was nothing to gain by shouting, arguing, making accusations and calling her names. When people are cornered like this when they do something wrong, they can lash out, and I didn't want to have the woman I was about to marry say horrible shit to me in some sort of defense of her behavior. I'm fucking heartbroken and feel betrayed. That kind of shit isn't going to help. I sent her a text explaining I know what she did. I explained I don't want revenge. I'm not interested in humiliating her or her friends and spreading it around, but it is a sure sign that we aren't right for each other, and it is over with no possibility of reconciliation. I waited until she responded once to make sure she got the text and have blocked her on my phone and all social media. I gave the crap she had at my place to my cousin to give back to her, and I haven't heard anything from her or her family since. I still feel like hammered dog shit. random, but I am doing better as far as not feeling like a black hole is sucking me inside out. But this wasn't like the breakups I had in high school or college. Something broke inside me this time that can't be repaired like before. My confidence is completely destroyed in my body now. I keep thinking what it was about the stripper guy that is so incredible that she could make seemingly faithful woman cheat and potentially throw away everything. Is it bigger muscles, bigger dick, better looks, better personality? I'm not a supermodel, but I'm decent. I don't act like a bitch or a pussy, or am I just stupid? I was 100% sure of this girl, yet I got cheated on right before our wedding. This kind of crap really takes a man's soul, grinds it up, eats it, and shits it back out. So within the same post, there was a couple of updates first. The first one said, someone from a camp finally contacted me. A stepdad called me tonight to ask what was going on and if there's any way to fix things. I didn't give him any details. I just explained that Jane stepped outside the bounds of forgivable behavior in our relationship. There's absolutely no way to salvage things, and any time spent trying by any party is time wasted that'd be better spent on moving on. When I said that, I could tell he understood what it meant and basically what happened. He's a pretty laid-back, old-school Hispanic dude. Said he's sorry things didn't work out and wished me well. Wasn't super close with the guy, but I will miss hanging out in his garage, shooting the shit about motorcycles and stuff. A second update in the same post and says, I just got done talking to the bridesmaid's husband again, who first called me and let me know what was going on. I don't know him, but I'm a friendly acquaintance with his wife. Apparently what happened is his wife became extremely uncomfortable when some of the women started grabbing and stroking the stripper's dick, and she left and went home. When he asked her why she came home early, she got upset and spilled the beans. More than likely to protect her own marriage if it got out, I would guess. Anyway, dude made a moral call and decided the husbands and boyfriends of the women had a right to know how their significant others were acting when they weren't around, and he made his wife give him all the contact info she had. Seriously, I owe this guy so much. Had I found out about this a few years down the line, the end of the relationship would have been so much worse. His wife still won't talk to me, but it doesn't matter now. I told the dude when things settle down, I'm going to take him out and going to buy him every beer in the bar. Had this dude not had the moral fortitude to make the call, I may have never known. So the first commenter says to OP, firstly, although you are in incredible pain, you seem very strong. I don't know how I would do in that situation like this. Certainly worse than you. I'm sorry you're going through this. I'd have a lot of questions for her. I'm not sure if you went through that process, but I would inquire specifically on time, amount of touching, did he finish, etc. Like, did she touch it and stroke it for like 5 seconds while everyone was laughing? I know you have mentioned that you're 100% monogamous to the bone, and this crossed the line and it's over, but I guess I'm just trying to rationalize because I'm not as strong and wouldn't want to break up. That being said, good for you for standing your ground, keeping your morals, and cutting her out of your life. You seem like a good man and you will recover and likely come back stronger and find someone better. You work out, get fit, strong, muscular, and that will help with mental health and physical confidence. I hope he says I actually went through that phase wanting to know the details at first, but after talking to my cousin, it just made me sick to think about. And it was at that moment I decided the only option for me was minimal contact. It's hard to describe, but when that guy first called me and told me, I felt like part of me was dying. It scared me a bit and I didn't want to make it worse, so I opted to walk away like I did. I do exercise. Opie then replies to a deleted comment and says, they were all just half incoherent walls of text begging to talk in person, how sorry she was, not to overreact, and that I'm the only one she loves. Another commenter says, it's not that unusual to be perfectly honest with you. Worse happens at hen parties than most bachelor parties it seems, though the drunken sailor's analogy is pretty apt. As she is friends with your now ex, avoiding your cousin will pretty much become a necessity from this point on. Unless you want this to be regaled with stories about how your ex's life has been ruined, / how remorseful she is, / how much she misses you, / how much she messed up, etc, etc, etc. No one needs to know that shit, so it's best just to disengage and move off in a different direction with your life. Hope you cutting the ex out of your life works well and that there will be little to no chance of ever running into each other again. That would be awkward. Opie says thanks. She will be going to a graduate school out of state, so that should minimize things. Opie then replies to another deleted comment and says, thankfully, I wouldn't have to be the bearer of the bad news 10 times over. My cousin was completely unwilling to name any of the other women when I asked, but it doesn't matter because I wasn't the only one the bridesmaid's husband contacted. At this point, it will organically get around and everyone will have to deal with the situation as they see fit. A commenter then comes in saying that I bet it got it a lot worse at the same time, where they had seen a Bachelorette and basically it escalated to a lot more than what happens in this story, and then discovered that her friends were all recording it, so she started crying and asking them to delete the pictures and all this kind of stuff. Opie says, I suspect eventually it will come out, as the whole situation is blown up because of the husband calling everyone's SOs. At this point I don't care though. Her just stroking the guy's junk was enough for me to end it at that point. Anything that happened afterwards happened after the end of the relationship. Commenter says, if you all know what happened with the other women, give us info. Opie says it'll probably be a long time before I ever hear anything. The only 3 women I know for sure who went were my ex, my cousin, and the bridesmaid whose husband called me. I'm never talking to my ex again unless it's some crazy life and death necessity. The bridesmaid won't talk to me because I think she's having a bit of an emotional crisis of her own. And my cousin outright refused to tell me any personal details of anyone else or any details of what happened when they got to the strip club. She'd be going to a graduate school out of town pretty soon, and she's always been the kind to dodge responsibility and consequences, so she'll probably just skip town and let time smooth everything over. Honestly, at this point, after calming down myself, I just feel bad for the women's families because the only thing I know about the women are that some of them are married or are in long-term relationships, and some have kids. A commenter says, I understand why you left and I'm sorry you're going through this. You mentioned wondering what the stripper had that you didn't. The answer is 100% nothing. They were drunk, partying, and people do stupid stuff. That's all. Don't overthink it. It doesn't say anything about you. All it says is that she lacked self-control or didn't fully respect/understand your boundaries. Opie says, here's what a gullible dumbass I am though. I actually decided to have my little wow party at home because I wanted to save money for the wedding, but mainly because I thought guys are the crazy ones at bachelor parties. I didn't want my friends trying to be smartasses and surprise me with a stripper and causing drama for myself or anyone else. Commenter says, for a hand job, what a stupid thing to cheat for. The lamest of all sex acts. Thumb over a handy. Opie responded saying, from how upset my cousin was, I think a lot more happened when they went to the strip club and had their so-called private dances. I tried to get her to tell me what happened, but she refused, so I assumed the worst. A commenter who was downvoted says, I'm sorry this happened to you. Just curious, had she had some lap dances and drinking with no real sexual contact, would you be getting married? Opie says I had a feeling they were going to have a male dancer show up. That would not have bothered me much, just a bunch of silly girls hooting and hollering, putting some cash in a G-string, creating a fun memory that they can talk about over coffee and tease their husbands about when they are older. But considering her reserved personality, and we both agreed that cheating was the deal breaker, I've never dreamed they'd hire a stripper who gets sexual with the women. That was the bridge too far. From what I understand, most of the guys who strip and are willing to get sexual with the women are also male escorts. Sex workers are more likely to carry STDs, and the fact that she would possibly expose me to that without my consent shows a serious emotional problem I didn't realize was there. Opie replies 2 more times, the first one saying, thanks. My ex was a very modest woman with a reserved personality, or so I thought. She works in an office doing paperwork for fuck's sake. Claims processors aren't exactly known to be hellraisers. I never thought she was this repressed deep down, but somehow being in an environment like that brought out a side of her I'm just not compatible with. What fucked with me just as hard as hearing my cousin try to rationalize and minimize it by telling me it was okay because most of the women were doing it. Hearing that shit makes me feel super gun shy of women now. And the last comment from OP says, still shook that I lost a years-long relationship for something so stupid, but very glad it's not years down the line with kids in tow that I find out. Most of the people I know with histories of doing crazy shit like this and hiding it from their partners later cheated like a motherfucker in a relationship, so I'm glad I dodged that. And there isn't really much to say from me on this one. I mean, it'd be over it. It's simple as that, really. But it would be interesting to find out how many other people were involved as well and what's happening in those relationships at the same time. Maybe we're going to discover that in the update, maybe not, but let's find out. So it says, I deleted the original post but put a recap in the original update. It's been 10 days since I received the call that ended this relationship. I'm almost back to normal, although I can't quite shake a bit of malaise. Thankfully, I had a few days worth of PTO to burn while I work past this crap. I already scheduled my 2 weeks vacation for this year for the wedding, but since it's cancelled, I'll just spend it with the family and have a very extended Christmas with them. Outside of a few texts from Jane to my mother when things first blew up, and her mother calling the next day after I talked to Jane's stepfather. Haven't heard a peep from their clan since. Jane's mum tried to act as a mediator between us. but I shut that shit down and told her it's not possible. She can be a bit pushy, but thankfully she realized it wasn't wise to push this time. I finally got to talk to the bridesmaids whose husband called me. She didn't offer any more details, and I didn't care to ask for any more by the time I talked to her. She just called me when she felt comfortable enough to wish me well and tell me she was sorry for what happened. She's a very nice lady and I feel bad for her because she works with quite a few of those women, and I don't envy how they're going to treat her at work. I asked her and thankfully none of them have any managerial authority over her, but it still sucks to be ostracized. As far as any of the other women, I haven't heard a thing, and my cousin has done a vanishing act. My mum took care of cancelling all the wedding invitations as she was the one who helped send them all out. I asked her to just tell everyone that Jane and I had a change of heart about getting married and decided to put things off for the time being. Frankly, I'm fucking embarrassed about what happened and don't really want to be known among family and friends and people in town as the guy whose ex-fiancée jacked off and possibly screwed a stripper right before their wedding. I'm sure it will eventually get around, but if I let it fade like this, it'll be more of a crazy rumor than confirmed fact for most people. I really just want to walk away with as little drama as possible and move on with my life. I've asked my mother to text Jane's mum to get the engagement ring back. Hopefully she won't give me any trouble as they were expensive, and buddy of mine is willing to buy the ring set for exactly what I paid for them for his wedding in a few months. I told him he better not tell his girlfriend where he got them, just in case she's worried my ex was wearing the ring when she was handling stripper guy's joystick. I lost thousands in deposits for the venue, DJ, florist, catering, security, plane tickets, honeymoon suite, etc, etc, etc. I'm hoping I can recoup a little money by selling the rings. Anyway, I've decided to stay away from long-term relationships for an indefinite amount of time. This experience has made me very gun-shy about love and relationships and all that mess. People have sent me all kinds of encouraging messages claiming I'll eventually find the one. I'm doing my best not to be overly pessimistic, but when looking at the divorce rates and all the crazy conflicts between men and women these days, I'm starting to think the chances for anyone to do that are getting lower with each passing year. And I'm not the kind of guy who gets over stuff like this by running out and dating some other women to sport hump right afterwards. So I think I'll just stay single for now and focus on my passions and work. Anyways, thanks to everyone who gave me encouragement. If anyone else goes through something heartbreaking like this, I highly recommend you stay with family or close friends you have a good relationship with. I can't overstate how much this has helped, especially if you're a guy. Men don't really maintain a circle of support for stuff like this, like many women do, and you can find yourself isolated and descending further into a bad place without positive reinforcement around you. I was able to lay on my childhood bed, in my childhood room, in my childhood home surrounded by good memories, having my mum come in and bring me tea and food and say sweet encouraging things about how much she loved me and how proud she was of me. I was able to talk shit with my dad and brothers to distract myself. It helped a lot. Best of luck to everyone. Thanks. A commenter said to OP, "This is a really shit situation, but you made the right call. If the genders were reversed, your ex's friend would be telling her to leave you. This is why everyone from her side is so quiet. They know she fucked up in an unrecoverable way. Absolutely focus on yourself right now, but don't write off long-term relationships forever. There are plenty of women who realize tossing off a stripper at their own hen do is a bad idea." OP replies saying, "I've actually come to terms with the likelihood that I'm going to lose a lot of mutual friends we made after we began seeing each other." Also saying nothing from ex's side, so I haven't responded to my mother's text asking for the ring back. My only sources of info about what happened to the bridesmaid and my cousin, and neither are willing to give any more information than they have. But I now strongly suspect that some of the women did more than handjobs when they got to the club. And the final comment from OP saying, "Thanks. I don't really want to go that route. If she doesn't give me the ring back, I'm out a little over 8k. If I can sell the marriage band without the engagement ring, it'd be a little less than that. It's not an insignificant amount, but at this point, it'd be more trouble than it's worth to me." But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What would you do in it? Let us know your thoughts, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is a bit of a different one from the jewelry subreddit of all places, from Pinky Queen 100, and says, "Found my charm holder with my original charms that was stolen from me 37 years ago on eBay. I know I can't do anything, but what are the odds?" Yes, I know I can't prove to the eBay Goodwill seller it's mine and won't be able to get it back. Just stunned that I found it. Found my charm holder with my original charms that was stolen from me 37 years ago on eBay. I know I can't do anything, but what are the odds? I was leaving for college when I was 20 years old, and I just put all my charms on this charm holder. My parents got me the charm holder. I put all my valuables in my purse, and my purse was stolen the night before I left. The number one friend, I assume is a charm, I had just gotten from my best friend who later passed away at 29. I could go on and on. I would buy it, but it's real 14k gold, so it's out of my price range. I've always bought gold necklaces and charms all my life. This really brought home how sentimental each charm and necklace is to me. So on the back of this, Opie says, "This is what I wrote originally," and it was a screenshot of the eBay message. "I don't know if this will reach anyone, but I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes. This is my charm necklace. I was only 20 years old and had it ready and packed in my purse to go to college when my purse was taken the day before I left at a movie theater. I can't believe my eyes. I am now 57. The pendants all have sentimental meaning to me. The number one friend pendant I got from my best friend who sadly passed away when we were 29. I can't believe this is before me. It says something about make a bid, but I don't see the button. I know this is going to sound crazy and far-fetched, but I'm literally in shock, especially to see all my charms on it." A commenter says to OP, "I too found a diamond and ruby art deco watch burglarized from my apartment about a year later on eBay. I was stunned and elated at the same time, as the watch belonged to my mother and had great sentimental value for me. I was able to negotiate the price with the seller, a jewelry store about an hour away from me." Another commenter says, "Unfortunately, people suck, and I imagine it's pretty common for people to try and scam sellers with sob stories. It's heartbreaking, but I think it's unlikely that even if you could reach a real person, that they'd be willing to engage with you. In fact, even if a real person is seeing your message, the automated messages help to put distance between them and a potential scammer. As others are saying, if you had a photo, it might help, but there's still no way for them to know that you didn't sell or give it away years ago. Maybe your friends and family would be willing to chip in as a future birthday or Christmas present, or even a GoFundMe. Those are people who know and love you and can empathize with how much this means to you. Only saying this because I'd hate for you to put all your effort in trying to talk to a real person, then it just ends up selling." Opie replied saying, "I agree with everything you said. I was very hesitant to share my story because I know the odds of this happening are astronomical. I didn't want people to not believe me, and I totally understand how it would sound to the seller." A commenter says, "Is there anything you could describe to them about the charms or holder that isn't visible on the listing to prove you had it? Maybe along with a photo of it, even if it's tucked into your dress, that would help. I can't even see all the charms clearly from this photo, but I don't know if there are more on the listing. Also check yearbook pictures as someone mentioned, and if all else fails, try a payment plan." Opie says, "Yes, I literally just wrote them and described 3 things about the charms that no one else can see or know. I also sent a pic of me and my boyfriend with the necklace underneath my shirt. You can only see the chain. They did have a very big thing I told them about the charms that I believe no one would know. Fingers crossed, everyone." So OP then added a screenshot of the seller's reply to eBay and said, "Hello, thank you for your inquiry. In regard to stolen property, we would need documented proof of prior ownership to assist with this. Please provide such documentation so that we can partner with our security team to assist. Documentation would include, but is not limited to, police reports, photos of the item being worn, proof of original purchase. Thank you for shopping Goodwill, Southern California, and for supporting our mission to provide jobs for individuals with barriers to employment. Your purchases help create jobs, hopes, and future." And it says, "This is torture. I 100% understand that they need this, and I understand that there are scammers out there, but I can't find a picture. That's the only chance I have of proving it. I'm going through my photos, but haven't found anything yet." OP adds the latest update and says, "They have the charms and holder on hold for 2 weeks. I asked if they would consider selling the charms separately so I can try and get 1 or 2, and they said they would look into it." The OP did come in with that update and says, "Update, I bought it today. Found my charm holder with my original charms that were stolen from me 37 years ago on eBay. I know I can't do anything, but what are the odds?" And then says, "I was leaving for college when I was 20 years old." And then just seems to repeat what was going on in the first part of the post. A commenter said to OP, $505. Ouch. I'm wincing for you because of the difference in gold price after 37 years. But I'm so happy you're able to buy it back. OP says, "I know. I wish it hadn't have been real gold. Ramen noodles for a long time, but the memories are priceless." And that is absolutely wild. Imagine 37 years later, stumbling across something so sentimental to you that you thought was gone, that you thought you'd never see again, then to suddenly come across it. And in those moments, how powerless you must feel at the same time, struggling to find proof of ownership that it's yours, because don't blame the companies for being skeptical at the same time. We've seen on subreddits like Choosing Beggars, people will try anything to get free items. So you can understand how companies would be like, hold on a second, we need some kind of proof here. We can't just hand it over, right? So I get it's incredibly frustrating that Opie basically had to buy it back at quite a high price. But like Opie said, the memories that come with it seem invaluable to her. And I'm so pleased she was able to get it back. That's an absolutely wonderful story. But what about you guys? What do you guys think of this situation? Have you ever been in a similar situation before, lost something and then found it sometime later, thinking you'd never find it again? It just brought me back to a bit of a weird story when I was younger. I can't remember the age, but I was pretty young at the time, thinking like sort of between 8 and 12, somewhere between there, right? And this story haunts me because I just don't know. I know it's highly unlikely, but I can remember we found a gold brick. A little bit smaller than a house brick, rectangle shape. Think your standard gold bar. Pretty weighty, had to hold it with 2 hands, and this is going to sound really dumb. But we didn't know what it was at the time, apart from it was this kind of gold brick, and we're sort of like writing on the wall with it. And I can't remember what happened to that years later. I know we didn't find it in this story, but it just brought me back to thinking this gold charm bracelet, and I thought, oh, we lost a gold brick. Was it a real gold brick? I know the chances are incredibly slim. So slim. But I think about all the dodgy dealings that went on in my area and stuff like that. Again, I know people around there probably didn't have a gold brick, but it does haunt me a bit. But anyway, I'm talking shit as usual and just torturing myself. So what do you guys make of today's stories? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, the love, the support, the time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, truly. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.